Well everyone, I think I've collected a sufficient amount of the character building series 3 microfigures to have a bit of a look at them in a bit more detail. So, what is actually in this series and what makes it any different to the series that have come before it? Well, let's have a look right now and find out. So the packaging for this series is the same as we've seen in Series 1 and 2, obviously of course with the different figures on the front. We've got the same kind of writing, same style, and the same amount of figures in each series. Once again, the price has stayed the same with the $3.50 price tag on each set. Now, as per standard, we get this little thing inside that tells us all the different figures that we can collect in this series, which as we can see there's Madame Kavarin, a Sontaran Trooper, Bastionarada, Ood, Rory with the eye patch, eye drive thing, Amy with the marks from the silence, the Doctor in a waistcoat, I think we call those, Rufusol in a different dress, we've got the Cyber Controller, a Dalek, a Handbot, and a Jejune Trooper. Now what's nice about the range in this series is that we've got some from, earlier than Series 5, such as, these guys here, who we haven't actually seen so much in the recent series, but are actually being brought back, which is really nice because they're some of the very now classically renowned aliens from the new series of Doctor Who. Now, also included in this series as the hard-to-find figures is the black version of the Dalek, the Sontaran and Jejune without helmets on, and that is really interesting because they're the kind of things which you're like, oh, I'd love to get, a black Dalek. Oh yeah, right, as if you're going to get one of those when there's only 500 made. I have a feeling there was also a different version of the Doctor as part of the special edition as well, but I can't quite remember. Now if we look on the back, we can see we've got advertisements for the new products now. Interesting though, we've still got the TARDIS set on here, despite the fact that not only do we have a new TARDIS now, when these were released, which was in December, January, but also that this TARDIS I haven't seen available for many months now at my local ABC shop. So I think it's actually been stopped coming to Australia, because I know the small TARDIS, not the transparent one, but the normal blue one, has stopped coming to Australia. So that's interesting. Now we can have a look at the actual figurines on their own. If we lift them up, you can have a quick look at all the different ones from this series that I own. So let's have a look. To kick things off, we can start off with this Dalek. Now, this is actually not from these blind packets. I got this with the Dalek spaceship, which you can see in my other character building reviews. But it also comes as a part of the micro figure set, which I think is good. I don't really like the idea of having exclusive figures like this in sets, because not only do some people not want to pay $60 to get the spaceship, but, these are the kind of things where you don't just want 2 of these Daleks, you want multiple. And a good way of doing that, of course, is to buy these kind of figures. So, a quick recap of this. It's a very good representation of the Dalek figures that we saw before the new Paradigm Daleks. And I think they've done a really good job of it, especially when you compare it in size to the new Daleks. It's smaller, just like it was in the TV series. And I actually think that this has probably got more detail on it than the newer Daleks, but that's up to people, whether or not they like the new Daleks or not. So now I'll move on to some of the more unique figures in this series, and first I will have a look at this Ood. Now it's a very interesting minifigure. It's got the little orb things that Oods are meant to have, which is, interesting to note because on the actual paper, if we have a look, the ball is meant to have like a stripe through it like it does in the TV series. However, in this one, it actually doesn't. So this little ball thing is kind of strange. It does look very funny, I must admit, that it just kind of holds onto it and it's got a stick and everything. So I think the ball idea, and you can see it falls out very easily, could have been executed slightly better. But I think the face is, weird and alien enough to be an Ood. And they've got those little dangly things that hang from their mouth. So I think that as a figure it's nice. I just think they could have executed the ball just a little bit better. But, small complaints here and there. The next one is the Sontaran Trooper, and I really like this one. I think they've done a very good job at making the Sontaran Trooper look very much like, a round kind of potato. So obviously we can see that this doesn't have a head, so if we just pull off his head, it's just the, oh, if I can even get it off. There you go, see, it's just the Sontaran, like, mask helmet. What's interesting is they've introduced this new piece here, which is this printed body armor, and that really means that you can have the standard male torso, but you put this on, and it looks very different. So I think that's a really effective way of them customizing and giving them that, like, proper shape. So I think they've done a very good job with this figure. And the gun also is very interesting. It's quite military style. Doesn't look so much alien, but, you know, as a good collection for your guns. But it's a very nice weapon. And quite unique to this series when you compare it to the handguns which we see in other sets. Here we go, if we can just... The next one is the Jadoon Trooper, who's also a really nice figure. I think that, once again, we've got the utilization of the shoulder piece, but this one is really different again. If I can actually get his head off, which was extremely hard to put on, we can see that it's actually like this. It's this bit here with the back on it. It's this semi-printed body armor. And then it's got this funny looking head, which looks really odd by itself, and it's got the little axle joint just in there. So the way you put this together is quite difficult, I must say, but once you get it on, there we go, second time's always easier than the first. It's really actually a very effective set, and it really gets that idea of them having massive rhinoceros heads. Also, we've got the really nice different gun design again, even though it's with a small kind of handgun, pistol, whatever you want to call it, kind of design. It's very small, and I think the red is good because it's meant to be, I think, those scanning injector things that they have. I'm not 100% sure. But it looks really good contrasting to the black, and, you know, a very effective kind of use of colour with the weapon. Then we can move on to the handbot, which is also found in the Girl Who Waited set. As I've already explained, I think it's good that they also release it in the figures. And this one's interesting. It's got another clever use of the neck piece to add a bit of bulk to the figure. It's got a normal hand on one side, and then the other one you have this insert hand, which is the hand that we see where the needles and all that kind of thing come out of. And so I think that's very, very cool and very good that they've included that, because it was such an iconic use in the figure, in the TV series. It's got nice patterns on the legs and on the body, and the head just doesn't move very well because of its design, but it's very good. It just looks kind of strange because it doesn't have a face, and they really captured what it looked like in the TV series. Come up here, we can see that I have a collection of these 4 of these Cyber controllers, and once again, these are very similar to the Cybermen we've seen before. Difference being, firstly, that we don't have the C logo like we did on the original Cybermen, and we're seeing that in the later releases to, you know, supposedly differentiate these Cybermen from the Industry Cybermen from the parallel dimension. But as we'll soon see in the remainder of Series 7, we've actually got a new design of Cybermen, so that's going to be interesting too. I think, once again, they've done a good job with changing the head and making it obvious that this guy knows what he's doing, because, you know, he's got his, like, brain popping out of the top. And I think making these kind of figures is really cool, because you can have really good armies. You can have, you know, your foot soldiers, and then you can have your Cyber leaders and your Cyber controllers and all that kind of thing. And once again, it's good to see that they've released this Cyberman outside of the box set collection. And then we've got a very interesting piece here, which is the Vashta Nerada. It's called the Vashta Nerada, but it's obviously meant to be the Vashta Nerada who possessed one of the archaeologists from when we first see River in Silence of the Library. Now, this is very interesting. It's got a really nice helmet design, and once again, they used a chest piece. They replicated that kind of white, almost like fabric and papery looking clothes that they wear in these uniforms or spacesuits, and I think they've done a really good job. The only thing I don't like about this figure is the way that rather than having like a skeleton head on the inside, it's just a skull rather, which has been printed onto the front of the visor, so it makes it look a bit 2D and kind of just a little bit fake. Whereas if we look at the picture on the brochure, it looks a lot like there's, you know, like a clear visor with a skull head on behind it. So I think that would have just been like the improvement I would have done to this figure. But apart from that, I think that they've done a really good job of capturing the kind of feel of these figures and these kind of scary troopers. The only thing being that, as I said, if you had the skeleton head rather than the skeleton printed onto the helmet, you could transform some of your other figures into Vashnarandas as well. So now let's move on to our staple Doctor Who figures. Now I actually don't have Amy, which is a bit unfortunate, but I do have 3 of River songs. Now, the first thing to note is, yay, she has a gun. That was something I thought was kind of lacking in the sets that we saw in the Series 2 of the minifigures, microfigures, sorry, and also in the TARDIS set. I was like, how can River not have a gun? Doctor has a sonic screwdriver, River doesn't have a gun. But she has one now, which is good, and not just for a special edition, but for the obviously easily acquirable sets. And, you know, she's got the same design that she had before. They've started fixing up that hand problem that I talked about earlier, where we had the funny kind of not rounded hands. You can see they've kind of addressed that issue and rounded them off a little bit. And also that, once again, we've got, you know, the iconic hair, that kind of thing. The one thing, notice we've still got a little bit of variation in the heads. If you look at them, you can see that her eyes are slightly in different places, and so is her mouth between each figure, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it does mean you can get some that look really kind of funny, and some that look, you know, like River Song. And so I think this is a very good incarnation of River, and looks very kind of, I don't know, River-esque? Is that the right word? Now, if we move on to Rory, we can see that they've left him the same. As I said, I've actually come to got used to that funny little mouth thing that they've done there. I think they've done an interesting job of putting the eye patch on. It's actually kind of like painted over his eye. It's kind of painted. It's not so much molded, but painted. It's a bit weird the way they've done that, but it works. And then he's got the nice printing, the military jacket from the writing of River Song, and he's got another one of River's guns, except this one's in black. And that's good, because I have to say the silver is a little bit more restrictive, but the black I think is very good, and it's good to see that, you know, we've got some way that these guys can defend themselves rather than having to be chasing after the Doctor for his sonic screwdriver all the time. And I think this is a very good addition to Rory. I would have loved to see Amy with the eye patch too, rather than Amy covered in silence marks, but, you know, that's just my personal preference there. And finally, we come to, you know, the man who runs the show, the Doctor. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with this Doctor figure. I've got a couple of little scratches on him already for some reason. It came like that, the same way as we had that weird printed one that came with the TARDIS. But as I said, we've got a sonic screwdriver. It still comes with a sonic screwdriver, which is the same, and it's got the same face. The Doctor seems to have very consistent faces. I'm not sure what makes him consistent, but all of his seem to be good, whereas you can get some really weird Amy and River Song ones. And we can see that, you know, he's got this new colour. Still got his iconic bow tie, but he's got the new colour, and it's also a new mould, actually, because it actually extends down the back of his legs, which is interesting, because, I mean, this is still one piece. It's part of his torso. I think that's really good because it gives his character just a little bit more flair. The only bad thing about that being is that you're restricted to how far his legs can move back, which in running scenes is probably not a very good thing. But, you know, it's still a very nice figure, and I think this is possibly my new favourite Doctor figure of the 3 that I own. I really just like that coat. It's really cool. Anyway. So as I said, I don't have Kavaran or Amy, but I've managed to acquire the rest of this series. So I hope you've enjoyed this review, and I hope that you've had a look at some of the problems with some of the figures. But I have to say, overall, this is a very good set and a very well thought out, well designed series of these microfigures. I just wish that some of the exclusive figures weren't so exclusive, because they're really, really cool, like the Black Dalek. And so, apart from that, which is my main criticism, I don't like exclusive figures. I don't mind some of them being hard to find in others, but I don't like them saying there's only 500 in the world. Because that's just kind of annoying, because, you know, what are the chances of us being 1 in 500 people in the world who gets them? But apart from that, very good series, and if you're into Doctor Who and you're into these kind of figures, I definitely recommend collecting Series 3 because of the wide variety of characters it's got in there. And that's all we've got time for from Train. For all of those of you who stuck around, I thought there's one more thing you might want to see. Yeah, buddy. No, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is just what I've created out of all the base plates that come with the figures, which, in case I didn't explain it properly, do actually come with all the figures in Series 3, apart from the Dalek, as per usual. And I just thought that I'd, stick them together because I don't really have much use for them, as I don't display these on the bases. I'd rather display them in a running action pose, escaping from enemies from outer space, rather than being stuck to a, although cleverly designed, kind of, boring board. And so I saw that I'd show you I've made them some kind of like little snake, and that also gives you a picture of how many of these figures I actually own. I counted them the other day, and I was very surprised that I owned over 50 or even 60 of them. It shows you how very much collectible these are, especially with that reasonably low price point, especially when you compare them to other collectible items such as, the blind package Thomas, which can be anywhere from $2 to $4, or even $7. But that's in another one of my reviews. So as you can see, this is just something that I've done. If you've made any creations with these base plates, please let me know, because I'd love to see what other people are doing with these dual pin things. Maybe they've made spaceships out of them, or attached them to their TARDISes, I don't know. And just one last thing, you should really check out Edward Branstein Productions or Shalon White's channel. I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. Because it's got some really interesting stuff on there, and especially some new stuff which should be coming soon. Alrighty guys, now that's actually all from Trains Extreme.